Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am super excited because I have Jessica Walker on the line, J to the W. How you doing, Jessica?
I am good. Best intro right there.
Yeah, yeah. As some of you may or may not know, Jessica and I work together all the time on a variety of pencil first games, and at some point, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, um, she started making YouTube content with me, or to get on the channel as well, a collaborator. Um, and your stuff is great. People really like your stuff. Dare I say, perhaps better than my stuff. It's uh, and your stuff in particular is all of these solo gaming videos. I think almost every video you've done, if not all of them, have been solo gaming,
Yes.
and that's what this video is about. I just want to know more about you and solo gaming because it's such an interesting, set of content. So, like, just like I guess as a starting point, what's your starting point? When did you get into solo gaming? What game was the first game you played? All
Oh
of
my
the above.
gosh. If we go back in history, I played like card games as a child with like stuffed animals as like the other player. So going way back, I remember doing that. But
This is a story I did not
no
know.
one would play with me.
All right, all right. So you sit down. What game and what stuffed animals? I mean, what are we talking about?
Oh my, the war. If anybody, that one is
I mean, I
like
guess
the
you could
worst
solo
game.
play War. I mean, that works.
It yeah, that right there. Number one solo game of 2024.
Okay. What? Oh, and hey, you're running out of time to make that video. But so what? Okay. So noted. Uh, as you moved on from War.
As I moved on from there, I think I did a lot of playing games with like my brother, with my parents growing up, and then there came a point where nobody could get together anymore. This was like around 2015 or 16, and I ended up with just a whole bunch of these games for 2+ players that were just sitting around and there was nothing to do with them. So I think I went on Board Game Geek one day. I stumbled across it and I was like, unofficial solo modes. That's a thing. So I think I started to get into it with that. I
Oh,
remember
so really
playing.
like in through the BGG hobby route, right? Like not even buying
Yes.
solo. I mean, I guess solo products games is a little bit more of a new thing if you're not talking about solitaire, but having two-player games and then finding these rules on BGG. Shout out to BGG, but keep going.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly how I found the website because it's not like the typical like if I want to play solo, I don't know how I came across it, but there was also like was a game, The Fool's Journey, which is like played with a tarot deck of cards. No idea how I found that, but I remember starting out with that one too, which I still play. Pretty great game. But yeah, just getting into that, finding the different solo modes, and then expanding from there and being like, wow, there's a whole other group of games. But I think the first one that I really played, and I know you say I pronounce this incorrectly every time, but Alhambra, old time,
Alhambra, you mean? I'm sorry, wait, what?
that was where I started with the unofficial stuff, which I think is actually on the shelf somewhere
Yeah,
back
I
up
can't
there.
zoom in
There's,
on my to figure it out, but Queen Games Classic, right? I think one of
oh
the
yeah,
early days
yep,
before all the Kickstarter madness, perhaps. And
yes.
so and so okay, so and then so the solo community is pretty big. I mean, I think one of the reasons why your videos have been popular is it's speaking to like a very specific crowd that's super interested in this stuff. But like, when would you say? And one of the things that we've seen on the Pencil First Game side is that actually the behavior of a solo player playing a game is oftentimes they play the game. They like unbox and play the game immediately, which is great because they don't need to go find anybody. But then there's this like process where often they'll share that experience or express that experience with other solo gamers. Like there's like a share factor that maybe in the absence of the person at the table when you're playing happens online digitally afterwards. And I guess the question to you though is like, when did you start engaging the community more than just playing on your own?
That was kind of the same time. That was actually I joined. There's on Board Game Geek. There's solitaire games on your table, which is part of the one player guild. It's like this just nonstop. Everybody's sharing what they're playing. Everybody comments on it. I joined that in July 2017, I think. And literally that's what I started with, Alhambra. And I just bothered everybody. And I was like, hey, I'm going to play this like 20 times in like the span of a few weeks. And nobody got annoyed. So I stuck around.
I don't think you've done a video on that yet, have you?
I don't think so.
Get on it, Jessica.
That sounds like...
And you said the one-player guild, right? Did I hear that correctly? What's that?
That is one, I believe it's the biggest guild on BGG. It had, wow, I should know this off the top of my head, but I know it has like over 18,000. I remember seeing that. It's probably more than that now. It's just everybody who play, no, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people who play solo join it, and there's forums dedicated to specifically solo stuff, like what do you recommend or what are you playing? And then there's that geek list that I talked about, which is kind of like social media-esque, sort of like a Facebook, but not like a Facebook at the same time. It's a very small community in a way, but like you said, like the whole share factor is there with like, you know, why would you play solo? A lot of solo players play and then talk about it, share about it, talk to everybody.
I think playing games is great, whether you play by yourself or with other people. I don't judge. What about, well, at some point you also sort of started your own blog on solo gaming, and, you know, shout out the name of it and all that stuff.
Yeah, good old Gameward Bound.
Gameward Bound.
Tiniest blog out there, you know?
Great photos.
I try, you know?
And well, so when did that start? How did that fit into the solo gaming?
That I think I started the blog in February 2020. And that was just sort of, I had always been posting about all these games that I've been playing. If you see my stuff on those lists, I have like this whole, I fought the BGG coding and like figured out how to do the formatting of like making this look nice and all this other stuff. And I was like, I put all this work into this one, and I put it onto somewhere where I can actually easily find it, because it can be hard to see, you know, the history of keeping track of geek lists. There's a tool for that, but, you know, I wanted to have like a nice historical thing where I could be like, when did I actually last play this, and like have stats mostly for myself, but I think they seem to be helpful to everybody else too. I'm the weird person who measures my play area, and whenever there's like this random like Reddit thread every now and then, someone's like, how big is this game on a table? And that's where I get a bunch of like links and everything. Someone's like, oh, this person, she measures it, and I'm like, I guess it's useful. It is for me.
I'm like, we don't put that. I'm learning all sorts of things asking you questions. We don't put our table dimensions anywhere inside the box of the rule book on the Pencil First Game stuff.
We do not, and I think
it seems like we have that information readily at hand.
We could do it. It's actually, I think, more of a phenomenon of like newer game stuff now, because you get like the big crowdfunded stuff that's like, you know, you get like 20 boxes and you got to like spread it out on the table. We had one come in here the other day, and it had, I guess we ordered a playmat.
Did it come through the door or the window or what?
It came in the world's strangest carton. I mean, it was a game carton of a game that was like
you can name it. What game are we talking about?
Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Oh, I know that game.
The giant one with boxes upon boxes. Fun fact, we had a copy. My husband wanted a few extras and was like, let's just get rid of this and just get the whole new thing over again. And it arrived, and I'm like, so now I have to put all this together again. Besides,
they have the little construction pieces in that. That's the Warcraft 2 board game.
Yeah. But there's a playmat in there that is I want to say 4 feet by 3 feet, and I'm like,
okay, hold on. Do you keep playmat? Are you a playmat person?
No.
Okay.
No. I have a mat on the table that suffices.
You like
just
the
so
standard
I can pick up
mat,
cards, but
you know, I don't mind playing with playmats, but man, when you're like, I need to hang these up like clothing. Okay, so back to solo gaming. So you mentioned playing tons of games, and one of the early things that I learned about you I don't remember if it was when you. I don't remember if this was literally your pitch to start working with Pencil First Games or it was after. But you were like, "Oh, Herbaceous, I really dig that solo game. I've played it 1,000 times." But it wasn't 1,000 times. Like so, it was like I've played it 1,023 times.
Yep.
So, how do you track your gaming? Like, what do you use an app? Do you just write it on
I
paper?
just put it on BGG. I know there's a bunch of apps that help with that and like make that easier and you get better stats. I just do it manually. It works for me. Um, and Herbaceous solo plays are now up to almost 3,000 at this point.
It's crazy. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, I enjoy it. It's a fun solo mode, but geez. Okay, but hold on a second. So basically, you're saying every single time you play a game, which is often, you log on to
Yes.
BGG and put a little tick somewhere.
Yeah. I record it. I have like anything if I have comments about it or notes, I have nice templates. It's a whole bunch of copying and pasting. A lot of like there's a lot of stuff all over the place that I'm just like I got the template down. I'm not redoing this every single time. But I keep track of it now in a notebook as I'm playing so I don't have to like so I can like stay off of the computer for a little bit longer and just be like here's my little notes about these games.
Is it a cute notebook? Like, is it like,
Uh,
or is it just like a black and white standard? No, yeah. Oh, Dark Crystal notebook.
it's dark crystal.
Don't play that game though. Damn. Um,
No, I own the labyrinth version of it purely for the components.
I think that's why a lot of people bought that. I think that was one of that Labyrinth review was one of my hardest by like horse runner games, show um,
River Horse, I think.
River Horse. I was
I'm
like,
like,
wow, this
oh no.
game, wow.
I don't know if you saw it. There was a 40th anniversary collector's edition that came to GameFound, and they were like, "We're updating the rules," and I was like, "I'm on board, great." And then I saw it, and I'm like, "But you didn't release the rules, so what did you change besides a
The
couple
fun,
minis?"
we changed the copyright on the. Okay. All right. So for one, I think something I got an easy question here is, I mean, I think people who are generally watching a lot of your content, um, which again, we should all recognize, Jessica, in this moment, you have the most watched video of any video on Gaming with Edo. After a decade of videos, you're the
I've
winner.
overtaken you.
Congratulations. Okay, but I suspect most people who watch these videos are people who are pretty active into solo gaming. Like I assume if I'm looking up solo video, but when you think about getting into solo gaming, like obviously you love it, and so I guess I'll start with before I ask my question, I'll start with a pre-question to the question: why do you love solo gaming?
Many reasons. I like just exploring new games without having like the pressure of like take your turn and like I got to do this, and so everybody else can play. I can take my time. I can play games that other people may not be interested in, whether that's like because it's too light or whether it's like the theme is just kind of like it's not for me. If it's for me, get it to my table. But I like the whole discovery process too, and like learning the rules, which I know can be a little tough when you play solo, especially because I have to get those right. If I get them wrong, I have played incorrectly, and then there's a little asterisk next to the win. But it doesn't happen too often. I like the challenge of like, did I get this right? Yes, I did. Secondary, did I win? Probably not, but that's okay.
All right. So now that we know why you love, if somebody's new to solo gaming, right? There's like presumably there's this track into BGG amongst games that they like, or there's this other track that's like no, you just buy like there's now just solo games to start with that are full products. Like what? How would you sort of introduce somebody to solo gaming? What do you think?
It's an interesting question because I was thinking about this the other day of like it's almost like are you coming into solo games for the first time? Have you basically never played board games or you're like, "Oh, I played like a couple as a kid, but now I want to get into it?" Or is it like the other path where it's like, "Yeah, I play a bunch of board games, but now I don't have a group or I want to explore playing on my own." And there's sort of like two different paths there, I think, because I think especially for somebody getting into the hobby and even just getting into the solo side, it's overwhelming. Like there's so many choices. And even when it's like, here, you can start off with, here's 10 games you can try out, just researching one of those to figure out, is this even going to work for me, takes a lot of effort. And so it's, I think, trying to figure out a way into playing games that's just easy is taking a game that you know or that you already have and figuring out how to play that solo. Like that is like the least. That's how I got started, and it kind of, I came across some very bad solo modes in that process. Like there were a few where I'm like, why'd you post this? Like I appreciate the effort, but this is not it. But I think getting into those sorts of not great experiences to start versus like, oh, this is the best solo game of all time, then it's like, yeah, but then where do I go from there? Like like this was like amazing, but then
Don't play
it's sort
good
of,
things, so mediocre things seem better.
yeah,
I
yeah,
get it. I hear what you're
start the
saying.
media. But you get what I mean, where it's like you want to sort of at least understand like how you enjoy playing solo, like why you enjoy playing it. There's a lot of different reasons for it, and there's a lot of ways to actually find those different mechanics and themes that are fun that will work solo.
Interesting. All right. I got a last question for you here. Look, you and I, if folks who are watching don't know it, Jessica and I talk all the time,
All the
but
time.
all the time, too much. But one of the things that has happened over the last 5, 7, 10 years is, I mean, Pencil First Games has always had solo modes, but we've continued to do that and investing more time. And I would say, as of certainly Sunrise at the Studio, um, and I think probably Delicious. Like, as of maybe the last 2 years at games, Snowfall Over Mountains, you've gotten more involved in like what I'd call as like solo development, right? Like, hey, playing at feedback. Really, Sunrise at the Studio is a good example of that one where like I had this base thing and I had an idea and I was like, hey, Jessica, you play solo all the time, play, but like you've become a really active in. You've done much more playing of in progress solo modes and been providing feedback on them. Um, and or another thing that you're amazing at is like, hey, Scott Caputo did that Snowfall over Mountain solo because it's the whole thing solo. But but he'll have his scoring bands, and you're
Hmm.
like, I'm just like, hey, Jessica, like, can you just, how do these score bands feel for somebody who's going to play this 25 times? So the question is, after all the examples, is like,
3,000.
how has the integrating into sort of solo game creation process, to the extent you have been, impacted or influenced your feelings when you do play solos or you play a solo in a multiplayer game and that kind of thing?
Oh, it's I love it. It's fun. And I think also like looking at that development, it is like when you play solo, you're the only one playing. So there's this whole thing where like if I win my first time without, just getting lucky and I have no idea what I'm doing and I won, why do I play again? So even with our scoring bands, I know the top ones, a lot of comments are like, how do you even get here? And I'm like, yeah, I got there like once or twice, but it's supposed to be like there's sort of this challenge where you don't just want to play a game once and you're done. There's supposed to be like a little bit of like, oh, I did it, like, yes, awesome. But also going on like the development and doing all that, it's when I pick up a new game now, learning those rules and like saying, oh yeah, I see, like there's common threads of like, I got it, you like, this is the nice overview and here's how I can learn solo. Sometimes I'm just like, all right, I gotta learn like this whole 20-page rule book and then I gotta flip back and forth between this and like trying to like not do that when we do it. So it's very clear. There's rule books, I don't know, I like them most of the time, but learning stuff and learning from those rule books and trying to piece that together, some more fun stuff, I guess.
Has there ever been a case where you've had both a in-box solo version of a game and a community created solo version of the game where you preferred the community created solo version of the
Oh,
game?
That's a good one. I haven't done it yet. But I know Arc Nova, the one included with that. I just started finally playing Arc Nova solo, and it was like, why have I not played this years ago? But that one, I almost switched over. There's one called Arno, which is a more robust solo opponent versus what's in the box. I was surprised by the one in the box, though. I figured, like, a lot of people recommend just playing that one because it does actually introduce more interaction, and there's a solo opponent versus the one in the box, kind of like a timer mechanism of like tracking what you're doing. I like that, but that one I can see why that's going to be one that will probably be something I try eventually once I actually can reliably win at the base game one. I'm terrible. -43. It's a great score right there.
Yeah, there's something special about games that let you get to negative points, including casual games like Patchwork. What are you doing?
You're like, oh, thanks.
Who wants to have negative points? Just start 5 points higher and call it a day. Everyone starts with 10 points, and if you end with 6, not -6, -4, whatever. Anyway, that's my own pain. That's my own story. So yeah, well, look. I certainly am a big fan of your work, but I thought it would be nice to chat. I learned many stories today, including that you played war with a stuffed animal
I learned math. It was either with one or with 3 other ones, because you can split a deck of cards evenly.
Yeah, and for better or for worse, you probably lost some of those games.
I did.
Did you knock over the end? I'm done with you.
Get out of here.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on. It's a pleasure, and I can't wait for more of your content to come out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks. Bye.